Hey everybody, this is Dr. Godel here again with another video on how to become a better clinician. Today's video is going to be about hyponatremia. A lot of people have issues with hyponatremia. It's a lot of complicated words out there, a lot of complicated phrases, but we're going to try to make it a little bit easier, a little bit simpler, and go through it from there. You can go online onto UpToDate or Dynamed and find a very comprehensive algorithm, which is great. Mine's a little bit more simpler, a little bit more focused towards words and things that I have actually seen on the floors. So to kind of jump into this and not to take too much time, hyponatremia, what is it? It's low sodium levels. So the first thing we need to do is figure out what the normal sodium level is. So normally, our sodium level is between 135 to 145 milliequivalents. Hyponatremia is going to be less than that. The other thing that we're going to need to know is going to be our osms, our serum osms. It's not that complicated of a formula, but it's always easier just to use MD Calc or another calculator to figure out how much osmoles are in the blood. Depending on which research you use, or book or textbook, normal serum osmoles can be around 280 to 300. I like to use 290 as kind of like my middle ground. So less than 280 is going to be hypotonic. Over 280 or over 300, will be hypertonic. So hyponatremia. The way that we're going to be breaking down hyponatremia is first off the differentials. Let's get all the differentials out there, and then we'll kind of go over why we are interested in the differentials, and then a little bit about the treatments at the end. So let's talk about hyponatremia. First thing I'm going to do is look at the serum osmoles. I like this because it's very distinct and it drives us down one path. The way that we break down the osmoles section of this is we're going to look at if it's isotonic, if it's hypotonic, or hypertonic. When we talk about serum osmoles, normally we're going to be looking at isotonic and hypertonic in nature. Isotonic, so we're on a normal serum osmoles but a low sodium level. This is going to be our pseudo hyponatremias. So things like increased proteins will be here. Things like increased triglycerides will be here. Proteins such as myelomas, triglycerides, metabolic syndromes, pancreatitis, these are things that are going to cause an isotonic or pseudo hyponatremia. These extra things, extra protein, extra triglycerides, are falsely bringing down this sodium level. The other thing you want to keep here is going to be our lab errors. Nothing is perfect in this world. There are lab errors. If you don't think it's, if you have a normal serum osmoles and hyponatremia and you don't think it's from proteins, don't think it's from triglycerides, just recheck it all again from scratch. There might be an error in one of the measurement systems out there. The other thing we're going to be talking about in this section is our hypertonics. So our osmoles are going to be greater than 300, and this is going to be due to our increased glucose levels. So things like DKA, HHNK, sugar levels are very high. All you have to do is fix the sugars and the sodium will come down. Our next step is going to be with hypotonic hyponatremia. Hypotonic hyponatremia is what we classically talk about. 90 to 95% of hyponatremia falls under this category, and we're going to form a big differential here. The reason why we want to form a differential is because it kind of helps us in not only with the treatment, but also in prevention of this from happening again. Hyponatremia is just an electrolyte abnormality, so you can fix that fairly easily with some formulas and involved. Alright, so now we have our hypotonic hyponatremia causes. In this, you really have to elucidate a great history and physical from the patient. This was going to help form our differential, which will help our treatment options and hopefully prevention strategies in the future. So the way that we break down hypotonic hyponatremia is based off volume status. So we have 3 volume statuses. We have our hypovolemic, we have our euvolemic, and our hypervolemic causes. Our hypervolemic causes, you're very overloaded, right? So on history physical, you're going to see lower extremity edema, crackles, ascites, JVD. I've gained 20 pounds in the last week, and I don't know why. Hypervolemic causes are going to be things like CHF, are going to be things like protein-losing enteropathies such as cirrhosis, gastrosis, and nephrosis, with CHF and cirrhosis being the more common. Are hypovolemic causes, so they're volume down, right? So in our volume down, you're looking at very high ADH states, okay? But in this high ADH state, there's a little bit of a difference, right, in hypovolemic. And this kind of goes in a little bit more in the future, which is going to be our prevention. So normally in high ADH states, you look at our urine sodium levels. Normally in a high ADH state, a urine sodium is going to be less than 20. But for some reason, sometimes, it can be greater than 20. Right? So in our high ADH states, where urine sodium is less than 20, we're looking at things like dehydrations, so vomiting, diarrhea, sweating for whatever reason. You're just losing a lot of fluid, causing you to be hypovolemic, hypotonic, hyponatremia. However, when our urine sodium is greater than 20, that means our ADH really isn't working. Something is stopping this from happening, where it should be happening, but something's stopping it. This is going to be diuretics, such as thiazides and loop diuretics. This is what's going to be stopping the ADH from working properly. Classically, thiazides will show up on board examinations. Euvolemic causes of hypotonic hyponatremia, but you're relatively euvolemic, so you can't really, ascertain on a history physical where they are volume-wise. The mnemonic here is going to be RATS-P. And RATS-P basically stands for RTAs, Addisons, TSH, either high or low, so hyper or hypothyroid, SIADH, or potomania. In the wards, I see SIADH and potomania quite often, and this is really our basis for our differentials. First, our isotonic and hypertonic and hypotonic differentials, and then our volume status, which is mostly our hypotonic differentials, euvolemic and hypervolemic. The reason that we want to get a great differential here is because usually hyponatremia is not a primary problem. It's a secondary problem. It's secondary to something else, such as diarrhea or diuretics or heart failure. Something is causing the sodium to be low. And if we can really figure out why the sodium is low, maybe we can prevent it from happening again in the future. So let's talk a little bit about treatment. Not really a great options here of hyponatremia, but the way that I like to break it down is that in a 24-hour period, 24 hours, your sodium should rise 6 to 8 milliequivalents. In books, you have here 12. The reason in the wards we like to aim for 6 to 8 is because that gives us a little bit of a buffer. If we overshoot that to 10 milliequivalents, we still are not at that 12. Why are we so scared of that 12? And that's because of osmotic demyelination syndrome. We want to avoid this as much as possible. A lot of times, if you overcorrect 15 or 16 in 24 hours, you can cause this. You may not be symptomatic within the first, hour or two. Sometimes you develop symptoms after a week or two. So that's why we aim for 6 to 8 in 24 hours. Then it comes, to the question of how do you increase that sodium? The way that you increase that sodium is going to be based off of a couple of factors here. First one being treat the underlying cause. Treating the underlying cause. So if it's due to heart failure, treat the volume status, get rid of, give them diuretics. If it's from vomiting or diarrhea, fix the vomiting, fix the diarrhea, give them fluids. If it's due to the high glucose levels, fix the glucose, DKA, HHNK, you can fix that, and that should resolve these hyponatremic states. So treat the underlying cause is great here. Then the question is going to be fluids, is the other big question that we see all the time. You want to give fluids, the patient is hypovolemic, but what type of fluids do you give? Do you give normal saline, half normal saline, quarter normal? And that really depends on various factors. One formula that I like to use is called Adrogue's formula. And basically what this formula tells us is the change of sodium per liter of fluid given and why this is important is because it kind of helps us give fluids in a more acute basis. So the formula itself is our solute that we are giving, so normal saline or half normal, minus the patient sodium, and we're going to take this and put it over the total body water plus 1, that 1 representing what's the liter of H2O in that solute. So let's go over an example of this. Let's say we're giving a liter of normal saline, so 154 minus the patient sodium. Let's say the sodium is 120 over the total body water. You put it in the calculator, and let's say you get 30 plus 1, the 1 liter of H2O, along with that 154 milliequivalents of normal saline you're giving. Put this out, you get around 34 over 31. It's around 1. And this 1 represents in 1 liter of normal saline, the sodium will go from 120 to 121. And that's a very basic overview of hyponatremia, and that's how I approach it on the wards with the most common differentials. I hope this helps you all. If you have any questions or concerns or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you have any further recommendations or ideas on future videos, please let me know, and I'll be more than happy to do it. Hope you all are becoming better clinicians out there. Thank you so much, and have a good day.